That's it. The hoes gonna love this. The hoes gonna love this, y'all. This is episode 11. Joyce and Brian in the fucking building, man.
Another banger.
And I don't know if you noticed, but like we have sweaters on, which means it's getting cold. But this podcast is getting cold, man. Come on now. That's it.
You have a special guest today.
But before we reveal our guests, we just want to say a big thank you for getting us to 300 followers. You feel me? It's a small number, but it just shows that people are like attentive to what we're doing and at least care what we're doing. So shout out to y'all, man. That's real gangster shit right there. And then any other announcements? Nah, fuck that, man. Let's get into our guests, man. Who we have in the studio today, man?
Yo, it's Fanta Ballo, poet, Harlem, New York.
Big shot to I was gonna say Fronto again. I was just about to say Fronto. It's Fanta.
Fanta.
Yeah, big shout out to Fanta for hitting us up and this, making this happen and stuff like that. We really do appreciate it. Honestly, we just trying to make this platform just like a platform for like New York City creatives like you, just to like express like your side of either just what you do or just a different side that your fans don't know of. So, thanks for popping on this show, man. That's it.
My pleasure.
What you do is great, and we need to highlight that for sure.
That.
No, 100% actually. And it's funny, when I first like looked at one of your poetry sessions, I'm gonna say session because like it's all just a session in my eyes, but like when I looked at one of your poetry videos, it got me like reminiscence a little bit of like Lauryn Hill, just a little bit, because it's like, okay, she's a poet, and like you use your poetry as a form as like, do you use it like as a form as like a activism?
Yeah.
So I think that's a really like a dope thing. So like I guess our first question really is just like, how exactly did like Fanta come to be? Like, who exactly is Fanta?
Fanta, I mean, I always like, ever since I was in elementary school, like I'm part of HEZ, Harlem Children's Zone, we would always have like showcases. And I always wanted to rap. I always wanted to perform. So like, I knew I wanted to be a performer from the jump. Feel me? And then as time went on, I went to summer camp. At 11 years old, I started going to a summer camp. And it was for young girls from the inner city to explore themselves through the arts.
100.
Yo, it was, to this day, I'm so thankful I'm still part of the camp to this day.
Believe that.
Hello.
Nah, I like that 100%, bro.
To this day. And then I just started from there. I was performing at the talent show. I was starting as like a rapper. I went back to school telling my teacher I wanted to be a rapper when I grew up. And then eventually I'm like, I'm not a rapper, but I got some shit to say. So then I slowed it down. I'm like, let me get into poetry. I ain't really see too many poets, but I met somebody. He was like my mentor to this day, and he was doing poetry. And I was like, oh, wow, this is something I could do. So it's what I've been doing on the side since I was a youngin'.
So I see on your Instagram page, you met Shawn Mendes, right? So how was your first session to then Shawn Mendes bringing you out to perform a piece?
My first session with him, or my first session of poetry?
No, your first session in general. Poetry, compared that to performing in front of like, I would say hundreds of thousands,
and it was
people.
Globally, it was crazy.
It must have been a lot. It must have been a lot of nerds in there. Oh my gosh!
As far as you can look, it's people. It's like you can't even conceptualize how many people's in the crowd. It's just heads at a point. It's crazy because when I started when I performed at the campus, probably like 30 people, and those 30 people support you, so you don't really think too much about anything. So to go from there to go to performing in front of hundreds of thousands of strangers who was there to listen to music, and for a minute I gave them poetry and they was jacking me. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Believe that.
Honestly, I think it just goes into like people who just willing to listen and stuff. And like, as long as you, just like you mentioned, like at first it's 30 people. So it's like, obviously usually just niggas, but then like that, the fact that you were able to come out there and then people were listening to you, or at least listen to a minute of you, that's it. Because we live in a world now where it's just like everything is fast paced. So like if you don't get your pitch down like in a minute, niggas not gonna hear.
Listening no more.
And I think that is actually really cool that you use your poetry to like as a form of just activism, just for a lot of just black activism, just a lot of black power, man. That's it.
So, also during that time when the pandemic and there was a lot of political issues, how did it feel writing about everything that was going on? Because you also had to probably express yourself to so for other people to feel. So how was that?
It's so crazy. That was my breakthrough point, 2020.
I-
Everything was
yeah.
going on. George Floyd happened. I remember to this day. I wrote the poem that first went like people first started listening to me again on Instagram. I wrote that poem when I was on my way to the tax office. You know, unemployment hitting and all that. I was lit. I was lit. Everything going on. I'm walk past 2 Fifth. I see people outside protesting and everything. I'm like, I want to speak about this. So I start writing a poem as I'm in the tax office, writing a poem. I go home that day and I start talking about, like, I'm like, 8 seconds is way too long to be on somebody's neck. I'm on my iPhone just recording like this. Blew up. Now I'm starting that protest. I'm like, I really got some shit to say. And I'm angry. Respectfully so, I'm angry. And that was the first time where I felt like people really started listening to our words because everybody was in such an angst. Like, everybody was so mad that people wanted to hear, like, that somebody else could like put in words what they going through. And that was me. And I was like, this is my form of activism. I was out in them protests, but I was, give me the mic. I got some shit to say. Word. So if anything, like, poetry really helped me in my activism because for so long, like, feel me? I'm a young girl. I was playing basketball with the boys all the time. You gotta learn how to speak up.
No,
Like,
1000%.
so-
Yeah.
Believe that.
That's where my voice came from because it's like you playing with the boys and all that. And now all of a sudden, yo, you a girl. Well, I'm here. I'm
That's
here.
it. She still contributes to the table. So what y'all
Yeah.
niggas talking about, man?
Hello.
Fuck is y'all talking about?
So from then, I was just always somebody who wanted to speak up. So then when I found poetry, it's like, if I'm doing a music song, if I'm like rapping or something, people's focused on the beat, how it make them feel, they want to dance. But if I'm telling you some real shit for 2 minutes, I'm looking you dead in your soul and telling you you're going to take that, you're going to really sit and you're going to really hear my words. You're not going to worry about if you like my beat or anything. Yeah. So that's why I really like stuck to poetry because like you really got to listen to me.
It reminds me, what I like about poetry is just like, it reminds you of just like conscious rap. Where just like people aren't just, and that's not a diss to anyone who likes, you know, people who just makes a lot of beats and just makes music. It just sounds good, right? But with conscious rap, like people have to listen to like what you're saying, and like in a time where like there's a lot of division and like everyone knows when the George Floyd things happen, like niggas just pointing fingers everywhere, like it's y'all, and it's just like I think that poem you made where it's just like, if we can't be black, like what can we be? You understand?
We're
Like,
not safe in our home. Where can we sleep? Like,
I wanted to ask you what inspired you to write that exact poem, like outside of it just being like a, you know, the whole division and stuff like that. Like, what inspired that specific poem though? Because that was a beautiful poem.
Thank you. That poem was really from like, I was angry after the Breonna Taylor situation because it's like she got shot in her home in her bed, and I'm like, I'm somebody, like, when I first started college up until I graduated, I was an economics major, right? I was always in the corporate world. I was always in them rooms. But it's like I was still a black person, right? So I always stood out. Like, I was always that, oh, you got here because of this, or you got here because of that, not because of my own merit. So I'm like, I'm always a black woman who has to fight to where I got to be at, and I can't even go home and rest my head.
100.
That's crazy.
Believe that.
It's bad too, because like, and unfortunately for black women, like, well, unfortunately, just being born black and like the world we live in, we're already at a disadvantage. And like at a woman itself, like that's already two things you have to battle with. So it's just like for you to come out and just speak your voice on just how you feel on a situation. And it's not even like, oh, I'm just trying to get clout or I'm just trying to get like recognition. Like, no, like this is how I feel. Because y'all bugging the fuck out.
Speaking about clout, like during that time, there's a lot of people that like took the movement and they got their clout or notoriety.
Yes.
And just stop with the movement.
It's
a
like,
lot of people,
bro, the black box and Black Lives Matter and all that. Yeah. It was a lot. There was a lot of work, but there was a lot of performative action. That's what you're talking about. People was just
believe that.
Oh, I'm gonna write a post on Twitter. I'm gonna write a post here. Everybody gonna agree with me because everybody's mad scrolling through their phone. They gonna agree with me, but you're not really. After all that, you got your followers on that. You don't really care about the movement. It becomes about the numbers. That's another sad fact about reality, man.
And honestly, the black box, I never posted the black box because
like,
honestly, I just thought like, okay, a black box, then what?
What they gonna look at that? Keep scrolling. But people want to speak to, not even on Instagram. They don't care about no black box.
Or honestly, if I see a black box, I'm thinking my photo didn't load. Where the photo at? That's it. But like Brian said, there's a lot of people who just go with the hype and stuff. And honestly, I feel like when the pandemic started, a lot of like even people like I grew up with like got exposed. Like it was bad. Like I think it was bad in the sense where it's just like obviously there's no justice for black people, but like the people that let's say the friends that you have that like aren't black or just not non-minorities, and they just wouldn't speak up.
Yeah.
Like it kind of hit me. That hit me a different way than I would like to admit, honestly, because like these are people like I broke bread with.
And then you really seen the like how much of a disconnect there really is, and there's just the lack of education. So I feel like there's a lot of allies that came from that. I feel like this movement was probably the most where it was the most like people who weren't black that were like fighting with us. But then you seen a lot of people who were like, wow, this really how you think? Like,
no, 100%. A lot of things just. A lot of people got fucking this stuff, bro.
All right, so let's bring it back. So during college at your time in Albany, how was that in poetry?
Yo, Albany, I would say Albany really helped my career, like my poetry, like exposure, like just from the jump. When I first came to Albany, I didn't really know like how I fit in because I transferred. I was at Bard College. I transferred to Albany my first semester. It was hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was hard because you don't really know people. Everybody got their own cliques and stuff. I didn't really know where I fit in. And then second semester, I found Phenomenal Voices, right? And that's a group for poetry, like, and singing, and they put on showcases. Yo, and from there, I started performing there. I got a name for myself. Then COVID hit. That's when. Then COVID, I was busting off that. If I was a love poet, everybody was jacking me. Then COVID hit.
If I was a love poet,
that was the one.
Yeah.
That's it.
So then, when I came back, all the orgs, because, you know, Albany has, like, a lot of organizations put on a lot of shows. Everybody hit me up, yo, we need a poet for this, we need a poet for that, we need a poet. So I just kept doing performance, and then it was so real, the school, like, you Albany, the whole, like, with the president, all that found me and was like, we want you to speak at commencement, at graduation.
Crazy.
I was the first poet to ever speak at graduation.
But you see how powerful your voice can be. And it's just like, for you, it might not even seem like it's a lot of work because you've been doing this your whole life.
Word.
Like, this is what I do on a regular. That's it. So when people fuck with what you're saying, they're gonna put you in a position to say that and stuff. Were there's ever a situation, I guess in Albany, because I know there's like a lot of different cultures and a lot of different like perspectives, like, was there ever a time, and this might be like a little left field, but was there ever a time where like you either had a stance on something and then someone like kind of had just disagree with you in a sense? Or how do you deal with people who just don't agree with your stance?
I would say if somebody disagreed with me on Albany, I wouldn't know. But if people like disagree, because like sometimes I talk about some real like controversial stuff. Like if I'm talking about Black Lives Matter, or if I'm talking about like women movements, or like just stuff I went through. Because I got a poem about like being black at a predominantly white school, which Albany is a PWI, but my first school was even more. And I had to speak out a lot at that school because it was like I was going through stuff that a lot of y'all wouldn't even have to worry about. So that really, like, I really had to like butt heads with professors. It was I was really on some activism in that school. I was out in the marches.
Activism.
We made them change the student handbook. It was like that is really when you like button forces, because it's like you speaking from experience and they speaking from what they think they know. And it's like the book could say whatever. You could think whatever, but you ain't never been to the city. You ain't never been to Harlem. You don't know how I'm living. How you gonna tell me my story? Like, imagine somebody trying to tell you your story. They never even been where you from.
The problem is there's too many hats in the fucking pot.
Yes.
Too many hands in the fucking pot.
Get them out.
Come on, bro. That's it. And I think you're right. It's just a lack of just awareness and just education.
Yeah.
People don't want to be educated because at the same time, it's like, let's say just a white person, an example. Like, they wouldn't, if you tell them to look up something like revolving, not everyone, but like someone who's not really for BLM, and you tell them to look up something like relating to black culture, it might be uncomfortable for them. But that's the thing, like, get uncomfortable.
No, yeah.
You understand? Like, you have to be educated, because then you just go on the internet and just start talking shit like all the haters do.
Yes. And there's a lot of people who got uncomfortable. And because I know a lot of people who really like did the work. And I'm like, so it's possible. You just ignorant. You can't really see eye to eye. That's what I had to learn in my like performing in front of different people. You got to be all right with people not agreeing with you. You could say everything. You could have all the facts. You could speak from your emotions. And if they don't see you, they not gonna see you, no matter how much you plead. So you got to start like realizing, yo, it is what it is. I'm speaking from my truth, and you gonna see that or you not gonna see that. Like, my poem, one of my poems that went viral on I Was My Black Is, I looked in the comments and some dude was like, "You're not saying no facts. You're just speaking from emotions."
Wow. Wow.
But that's the thing. Like, people go out of their way to speak negativity.
Like-
you understand? And it's just like, you don't even know. Like, the guy who probably said that doesn't even like is well versed on the topic
He probably didn't
anyway.
even watch the video. It's so real.
They just saw one clip and they just didn't like it, and they just fuck with it. That's
so,
it.
That's what you gotta learn. You gotta be you. And they gonna like you, they gonna love you, they gonna hate you by the end of the day. But I'm not gonna change myself.
Crazy?
Like,
you thought I was feeling you? Nah, I overheard when you said about butting head with professors, and actually when I saw your video on UA, how first of all, I just like to say I think that was a very informative video, because I think what a lot of kids don't really understand is rate my professor, and like it kind of, I was washing the dishes while I was washing it, right, and I was like, get it, washing dishes while I was watching it. Come on, son, y'all niggas not even with me right now, bro. But as I was listening to you, I remember I used to go on Wait My Professor, and like, bro, I would not take a whole class if I wasn't fucking with the professor.
Yeah.
Like, if it just had like 4 stars instead of 5, fuck it.
nah, that's a fact. Because some professors, like, I would say I got lucky with it wasn't no like cultural things with these professors, but some of them was just, they didn't care. They was like, you got this dude, and if it's not done, it's not done. Those professors is the one that you end up taking if you take too long to do your FAFSA, or you take too long to get. Those the professors you get.
I hate those niggas.
I hate those. But dude, had a lot of good professors at UA. I would say that even at my first school, we had a lot of good professors. It was a smaller class setting, but I used to be on Rate My Professor. 4 stars. You ask around. You put in polls on Instagram. Let me know, cause some professors will really like want you to fail, like, and it's crazy because it's so crazy. I almost didn't graduate.
Oh,
yes.
Well, walk us through that, man.
Yes, it's so crazy because this is my last semester. I don't think I ever spoke about this. My last semester, right? I got my book out, so I'm doing that. I'm doing so many things at once.
Yeah.
Life taking off. I'm doing big shows and stuff, and I'm also doing school. But this was when it was still virtual, but it was in person. So it's like I'm doing all these shows, I'm out partying, and I'm doing my work. And I had this one class at 9 a.m, and this is what I mean by professors have to actually care or they don't care. And he was like, if you 5 minutes late, that counts as half a grade point off. Half a grade point, or 2 latenesses, that's 1 full grade point off. I'm like, yo, the class at 9 o'clock. You get a 5-minute grace period. Your Zoom not working, something.
Yeah, like anything could happen, bro. Like, what?
I don't think I ever had a professor like
that. So I didn't even, but my thing is, who really read the syllabus? This is my last year. I didn't really, so it's winding down and stuff. And I'm calculating my grades. I'm like, A, B, B, B. I'm like, whoa, I got to be in this class, but I got a couple of latenesses. That's gonna put me at an E.
Bro, at an E. Excuse out of my class,
Because I
boy.
had like 6. It was like 6. So 6 latenesses, that's 3 absences, that's 3 grades. Full letter grades. I was like, nah. Had to send him this crazy email. I'm like, yo, I had so much going on. The school talking like, yo, you want to speak at commencement? I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna graduate. So it ended up working out because I put an all-nighter. He said if you get 100 on the final, I'll pass you.
Nah, that's crazy.
I put an all-nighter. I had 3 Red Bulls. Tell me, and it wasn't on some like studying and you like do the multiple choice or nothing. It was like you had to build a stage set on your computer because I'm a theater minor. So we had to like, it was like theatrical design or something. So I really had to sit up and you like, it's like computer science. You get a code wrong, it messes everything up. I had to do it so good to a T, but I don't think I got 100, but he passed me.
He passed
I think I got like a 97 or something. Come on, you had to pass me.
You know what the thing? You know what the thing is? I think she saw the effort and she fucked with the effort. Man. I think that's what happened.
That's what happened. I tried.
And before we move on, shout out to you because I seen you graduated. I think Bard at like 16.
Yeah, I graduated Bar 17 and then you Albany 19.
Mad young. Hold on. So I know you alluded to earlier where you didn't finish high school, you said, right?
Nah.
How does that happen, though? Because, like, don't you need to finish high school to get to college?
Nah.
That's
nah.
Yeah,
that is a fact. That is a fact. So what happened was, with our Bar College at Simons Rock is an early college. So they accept you early. And you know, New York State is one of the only states that require the regents to graduate. So I didn't need my regents to leave New York State. So what happened is after 10th grade, after 10th grade, I applied to Bard College. They have like early college programs in like the city, but that is like dual enrollment. This school is like the only school where you drop out of high school and you're really into college. So my transcript.
But why does they drop out of high school though? Like you can't even get like a GED or something.
No, so
like,
I ended up. It's so crazy. I got my GED after I got my associates. Because Albany was like, I don't care about no associates. I need to see you completed high school. It didn't make sense though. So I had to get my high school equivalency test. But yeah, 15-year-old doing college work. I don't know how I did it, but
it's just like your mind was already there. Because again, you was writing poetry since you was young, playing basketball, writing poetry. What am I missing something here? Let me get the bomb real quick, man. Am I missing something here, man?
I ain't gonna lie, I did everything. I would say one thing about me, I did everything I like to do.
Everything.
So it's like if I'm curious about something, that's why I tell people all the time, you curious about something, just try it. Cause I started off rapping. Come on, I don't even rap no more, but that's why I started doing because what I thought was cool. And then I ended up finding poetry. I'm thinking it's cool. Basketball, that's what I like to do. I want to be outside, I want to be active. It's just for me.
I thought she was about to rhyme.
I thought she was about to play a beat. Damn,
it's still poet in me. I can't. But I just do everything I like to do, and if it sticks, it sticks. Like for a long time, I said I'm not doing poetry full time. I literally quit the bank. I got a full time position. I was getting salary, 401k, all at 19 years old. I was set. I was set. And I walked away after I did the Shawn Mendes thing. Because when I came back to work, they like, you have 2 more PTO days for the rest of the year.
I know that blew you.
This was September. What you mean I only got 2? I said, nah, this is not what I can do. Because I never know when I'm going to get a call like, yo, I want you to perform here.
Mm-hmm. Well, that can happen, yeah.
No, I got to go into work to open somebody a credit card. No, never. I don't want to know what you're doing with your money. I want to know what I'm going to do with mine. So I just got out of there, put in my 2 weeks, and I said, this is what I'm going to do. Since then, I've been coaching, back to what I love to do, coaching and performing. And I'm a teaching artist, too. I coach young girls. I'm part of GRA game. It's from 4 to 9 years old. We do, like, clinics.
Oh, that's mad dope, bro.
It's like I'm doing what I like to do, right?
Clinics like basketball or, like...
Yeah, it's basketball.
Oh, nah,
so, like,
dope.
we developed them. We have a lot of, like... connections with like Nike, Junior Knicks, and all that. So they get all these opportunities and I could be part of it. Like I could help them get what, like for me, I got growing up. The beauty in basketball and having a basketball coach and this, like being the role model that I used to look up to. I love that.
I fuck with that actually. I fuck with that actually. And actually, it brings you back some memories. I don't know if you remember, because since you played basketball growing up in the city, did you remember like this tournament I think it was Manhattan called Roses Park something?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody just
I always wanted a jersey, bro. I never got a fucking jersey, son. Yo. Yeah, y'all all played at Roses.
Yes.
Oh goodness gracious. How was that experience actually?
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. When you start getting older, you realize basketball is a lot of politics, man. But it's like we always had fresh gear, always had good shorts. That's one thing I would say about Rose Classic and a lot of the women's like basketball tournaments. You always had gear and all that. But I played with my high school in there. I had played with my AU team Castle. And it was just
Okay,
Yo, she's nice. Getting busy. Getting with that.
I ain't gonna even lie to y'all. I can't get on here and not plug my friends. I'm telling you right now, my friends over there is way better ballers than I can ever be. Shout out to them for coming in here, coming for anything I do. Feel me?
Shout them out.
Shout out Tootie, shout out Janaea, shout out Jada. Appreciate y'all. And everybody else that's gonna watch this. Shout out my bestie, shout out my family. Oh yeah, because I know y'all don't like poetry, but y'all love me. So
that's it. It's funny because when she came here, I was like, yo, we told you to come here by yourself, boy. Like, nah, I ain't coming out my niggas. You crazy. That's it.
But,
yeah, go ahead.
From the inspiration from basketball, poetry, so from the inspiration from graduating college early, dropping out, getting your GED and all that other good stuff, how did like your environment influence that?
I would say, I'm not gonna lie, when I was out there, like the reason I left in the first place was to get out of Harlem. Like I'm back now because I'm more like mentally prepared to move how I need to move. When I was younger, it was a lot going on. I seen the path a lot of my friends was going down, and I just didn't really want to be home. I was going through it with my parents, like I'm like, yo, I need a break. I need something different, and that's why I first left, right? But my environment is what kept me going. Is because it's like I gotta do good, so I can't end up living here. Like right now, I put myself in a position that I know I'm not gonna just end up like not being nothing for myself. Like I
100%.
I laid the foundation that like when I come home now, it's like I'm coming home to give back, to be with my friends and family now, but I got that foundation. When I was 15, I didn't have that. It would have been easy for me to get lost in these streets.
And I think that's a good part that you mentioned, where it's like you had to leave in order to come back.
Yes.
Because growing up in Brooklyn, I was in a Brooklyn mentality. I wasn't, if I didn't go to college like in Buffalo, I would never grow up the way I went to.
No, it's so real. You gotta leave to come back, because like when you stay here and you don't experience outside of New York, you don't think there's a life bigger than New York. You think New York got it all, and we do got a lot, but you learn a lot of things out of the city that you ain't gonna learn in the city. But that mentality you get from being from the city, that swag, that culture, that confidence, they ain't got there nowhere else. So if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. That's why they love us. That's why they love us. I don't blame them.
A little sidebar, actually, because I always want to know this. So I always find it funny how like people from Harlem don't say that they're from Manhattan. They just say they're from Harlem.
From Harlem.
Is there like a reason for that, or it's just
because Harlem is the culture. Manhattan is like
tourism.
People
say how it is, man. It's just tourism.
Yeah, Manhattan is like, if you go to Manhattan, a lot of people's not from New York. A lot of people move to Manhattan. You go to Harlem, we born and raised there. Generations live there. Like now, for me, they gentrifying us and all that. But you like, it was a point in time where all the brownstones and Harlems was owned by black people. Like it's so much power and culture and like just history. Like 125th, like that then became crackhead central. But a point in time, that was like really a place of culture. Like 116th, a place of culture. It's so much like. So when you from Harlem, you just got that confidence, because like we really them. Dapper Dan from Harlem, and he's fly. We fly, like we fly. I met Dapper Dan at a show actually, and I had performed a piece for him, and I gave him my book, took a picture and everything. He was like, "Yo, like I really love what you're doing. It's crazy, because it's like I look up to you, and then I get to perform in front of you, like so."
That's fire.
There is one thing I want to ask you though, and I guess this is for like the people who follow you and like your fan base and stuff. I guess, so when you said before how you stopped, working at the bank and kind of like just took a bet on yourself, what would you recommend to people who are like in that step where it's like, should I take a bet on myself, or should I just like play it safe? Or
I would say we young, so playing it safe don't really get you nowhere right now. Because what are you playing it safe for? You young. This is your time to mess up. This is your time to. That's one thing you got to be prepared for though. You can't say, "Oh, I want to jump into this, but I don't want to fail." There's no point in starting.
That's tough.
Cause there's a lot that happened since I done took that step, right? Since I done left the bank, there's a lot of setbacks, and there's a lot of things that came with it. But at the end of the day, if you remember what you do it for, you know that this is all part of the process. So that's what I was saying. Also, you don't have to have a thorough plan. Like when I left, all I knew was that I would be a teaching artist. Since then, I started coaching. Since then, I've been performing more. Since then, I've been like going into different schools. At first I thought I was only gonna be a teacher at one school, and that's how it started. But now I'm going into different schools. There's a whole lot of things that you don't know until you're put in that situation. So you waiting like, oh, I need to know everything before I leave. You're gonna be still in that same spot a year later. Take that step. If you fall on your back, look up and get back up and keep going. That's it.
That was fire.
We gotta get the hose out, because a lot of fire here, man. Gotta get the hose out, man. That's it. 347 Podcast, man. Episode 11. Fanta in the building, man. You already know what's going on, man.
Thank you for having me.
That's it, man. We might be crack guys, but we back at it, baby. That's it.
Wait.
Hold on.
Shout out your book.
Oh, yeah.
What's
For
that
all the
about?
things I never got to say, published May 2021. You can find that everywhere. But the best way to get it is on my website, www.fantaballo.com. Search me up on Google. You'll find the book. It's the cover. I know, really pretty. And yo, thank you for rocking with me. And if you love my poetry, you love what I had to say today, you're going to love this book. So shout out. Shout out to 347 Podcast, man. We here.
Thank you.
That's it, man. We just trying to do it for the community, man. And is it? Yo, I gotta work on my outros because niggas don't know what to say, man. But that's it. Episode 11 coming soon. Episode 12 on the way, man. You already know what's going on.